Hello guys, welcome back to the Robertini channel, and we are doing something different today. We're doing a podcast, something we haven't done since the start of the channel really, when me and Callum predicted where all 20 teams would finish in the Premier League for this season. A long time ago now, but we are continuing this as podcast number 2. And we're welcomed today by David Bilsby, producer of the podcast channel Unmuted Voices. And they don't just do football podcasts, you do other stuff as well, don't you?
Yeah, so initially the Unmuted Voice was started just for me as a way to communicate how I was thinking, how I was feeling, and talk about issues as we went into the first lockdown way back in March.
Yeah.
And obviously being a football fan, being a Spurs fan, naturally, as you get those initial things off your chest, you start talking about football. And now I've had everything from, I had the Luton under-18s captain on months ago now, to football fans, to cooking episodes where meals I tried during lockdown that were cheap and easy and that I thought would benefit people, to debates which are starting monthly from the turn of the new year, the Christmas special actually that'll be out over the December period, where we debate the best Christmas song and the best Christmas film and laugh and joke and have a couple of drinks and things. So it's pretty much anything that interests me and that, you know, that I feel like I put across in a positive way. And you know, some people tune in for football, some people tune in for the non-football, some people tune in for both. So, you know, that's both. As it is.
Yeah, no, I like that. So be sure to check the Unmuted podcast after the video. I'm going to be putting their link below in the description. Just check out everything they've got going on. You guys you're on Spotify. You do extra time clips on YouTube, don't you? You're also on Patreon, I believe, as well.
Yeah. So there's various giveaways and things that go out in relation to the podcast, and that's all Patreon done for that. So I'll the link I'll give you will be the one that has a summary of everything.
Link tree, isn't it?
From there. It is.
Nice one. All right, let's crack on. So today we are here to talk about Tottenham. David is a Tottenham supporter. You supported them all your life?
I have, yeah. Born and bred Spurs, unfortunately.
Born and bred, yeah.
How you look at the league at the moment.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Obviously, the day we're recording today is the 16th. It's currently just about to go 3:30, and tonight is the big game of Liverpool Spurs, which is massive. And throwing it back to my Premier League prediction podcast, I want to quickly say that me and Callum both put Spurs to finish 6th this season. Originally, that was just going from like their reaction, their performance in the transfer window, performance last season. We still thought they had this transitional period going on, but yeah, obviously right now, top of the table, it's looking good.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, right? I don't really know what to think and how to feel at the moment, because I've been a massive fan of Jose for a very, very long time. I've always been a case of Spurs are too nice. Spurs are, you know, we go into a game, you know, almost not being willing to do anything possible to win in support of the opponent almost, which obviously you want to go into every football game and you want to win. And there are times where we let ourselves go behind in the game to the point where it was unrecoverable, because we just didn't have that grit, that determination, and almost the experience that sometimes you have to be brutal if you want to win things. And that's one of the reasons why I was an advocate of Jose coming in. To be honest with you, I was a bit disappointed when he went to Man United, because I felt that was an opportunity for Spurs to maybe pounce on that. Because I always felt that with Pochettino, if we were only going to have the squad we had, that it had hit its ceiling. And then obviously, Poch starts having a downfall. And for me, Mourinho was always my first choice. And regardless of whether we win something or not this season, it's definitely in the horizon. In terms of where we are now in the league, will we finish there? Probably not, if I'm completely honest with you.
Yeah.
But in terms of the League Cup and the Europa League, I would be very, very surprised if we didn't end this season with either one or both. So it's a good time to be a Spurs fan. Arsenal are 15th. Chelsea lost to Wolves yesterday. We're playing Liverpool. Am I scared? Absolutely. But we've just got to see where the season takes us. And it's too early in the season at this point.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Dictate anything really.
That's it. Yeah, because we've just seen match week 12, and we're technically a month behind, aren't we, to the normal football calendar year?
Yeah.
And obviously, you guys got what to me was an unlucky draw against Palace. So you guys should have. You guys had a lot of chances in that game. Guaita had an absolute mad performance. Absolutely, Palace fans must be loving that. And I just wanted to say, match week 12 last season, you guys had just finished playing Sheffield United. It was 1-1. So technically, looking back, so match week 12 this season, match week 12 last season, normally it would be comparing, like, so match week 12 last season was November, would be comparing the 2 years, a year difference. I want to start off by asking, what's the difference between the 2 match weeks from last season to this season, and the space of a year, pretty much? What's kind of changed since that draw against Sheffield United, where it put you guys to finish 14th in the league with just that point, to obviously now being top of the league? What is different?
The confidence is the first thing, first and foremost, because I think players over time, you play a certain way, you do the same thing over and over and over and over again with the exact same tools, and eventually, if you don't get a result, you're going to lose belief in it. You're going to lose faith in it. Whether it's the right thing to do or not, you're going to lose belief and you're going to lose faith. And that's exactly what happened. And that lack of confidence, Poch's comments before the Champions League final saying if we won, he'd probably leave, didn't help either. Because I think that put added pressure onto the players thinking, okay, well, where are we going to be after this game? We're either going to be European champions without a manager, or we're going to be losers with a guy who wanted to leave us if we won something. And I think that caused massive issues. And then ultimately, mentality was a big part. And I'm not saying the mentality's changed, because I think it's still way too early to say. And the game against Liverpool will be a massive indication of that. But in terms of we're taking the cups more seriously now, you look at the game against Chelsea, we fought to the very end, obviously won on penalties, got the result, went through, and now we've got Stoke next week. But in terms of the league itself, West Brom, away, keep a clean sheet. Burnley, away, keep a clean sheet. Brighton, a tight game at home, we managed to come out on top. And there are 3 results that you look at those teams and you think, oh yeah, but Spurs should be beating these, but we haven't been. Teams we have, if we're not at 110%, and even sometimes when we have been, we're still drawn to Burnley, we're still drawn to West Brom, we're still drawn to Brighton. And those kind of games, while dropping points against Palace, for me, not necessarily happy with, well, not happy with at all, but it's not the be all and end all.
No.
We're in that change of mentality still, but I think the mentality, and I think our approach to games as well, I think there's a lot less naivety and a lot less. I talk about maturity a lot when I talk about football players, because football players mature on a different level to you and I, to kids at school, to young people going and getting their first mortgages. Football players in a game mature differently. And for me, the maturity of our players now, in terms of clearing the ball rather than passing it out at high pressure situations, being more clinical, being smarter with passes, Aurier, Sissoko are examples of that their players are being more mature and sensible in their decision making, which is resulting in less mistakes, which is resulting in more clean sheets, less goals conceded, more goals scored, and naturally more results. And whether that's down to the players needing a general change, whether that's down to Mourinho, they're the only people that know that. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a confidence and mentality and approach change of almost, we have Jose, we can win.
It's a different status now, isn't it?
We can win. Yeah,
it's
100%.
Kind of Whereas, but before you had Pochettino, and he done well at Southampton before coming to Spurs, and that was great, and pretty much an upcoming manager. But with Jose, it instantly puts that kind of legendary status onto the club, doesn't it? Of the amount of trophies he's achieved in so many different countries. But yeah, as I said, match week 12 last season, we saw Tottenham mid-table 14th with 14 points. We then had the international break, which we then saw Pochettino dismissed from Tottenham, decision by chairman, Daniel Levy, and the rest of the board. What I was going to ask you right now is, obviously, it was a Champions League final the season before that, against a pretty good Liverpool side, an upcoming Liverpool side to go on to win the league the next season. Did the board make the right decision? Would you have stuck with Pochettino, or have they made the right decision right now? What's your take on it?
For me, I'm not, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. Until Jose wins us a trophy, I can't say whether it was a good or right decision, because ultimately, success is defined by what you win. And if Jose wins nothing this season, has a third season syndrome next season, and leaves us in as much as shit as Pochettino did, they're just as bad as each other. But for me, I'm confident Jose will win us something. What that will be, only time will tell. But for me, was it the right decision or not? I think the only way it was ever going to be the wrong decision was if the board went, here's 400 million this summer, have a complete squad overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
And we were never, ever going to do that. And let's be realistic, no club, even Barcelona, struggled to shift off deadwood. They've got youngsters playing because they can't shift off deadwood. So for me, what was needed was never possible. And therefore, there was only one outcome. In terms of who I'd have brought in, I think it was right to bring in Jose, other than the fact he's a winner, because I think the players needed a change of style of football. They played great football, played high possession, and they didn't win anything. That Spurs team that we lost the title to Leicester, and again Chelsea the year after, was arguably the most highest performing team to not win the Premier League. And even rival fans have said that. It's not just as a Spurs fan. So for me, I think we needed to go the complete opposite and shithouse and be arseholes and be the C word, as Jose likes to use it.
I was going to,
to get a different approach and get a different result and be more efficient with the way we play.
Yeah, I was going to say about that because we've had such... I've seen it. I've not actually finished it yet on Amazon Prime, but the Spurs documentary is brilliant. I love the Man City one. I love the Spurs one even more because for me it was the Man City one was... They were already there. It's kind of like, that it was a project that had finished. Pep had just basically got to manage this side and they had ups and downs. But with the Spurs, it was a real project for Jose, especially under his first season. And we saw a lot of Jose's tactics and obviously him using the C word, saying you've got to be them. You've got to be ruthless. What was your take with the Spurs documentary and seeing all this behind the scenes? Because you got to love it as a football fan.
So I actually did a podcast on this a while back with two Spurs fans, and we were sitting talking about it and going over different things. And I think certain players we saw a different side to that made me say, you know what, they have to stay no matter what.
Yeah.
That I would have previously gone, they need to go. And actually, the complete opposite on the reverse fixture of players who I would have said, they'll stay at Spurs their entire career. Who actually, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say hoping, but I wouldn't be disappointed if they left in the polite terms. So. That kind of gave me an insight. And also, it's the club I love. So knowing what goes on behind closed doors, knowing Daniel Levy, and I think he gained a lot of respect from Spurs fans about his process and the way he approached it, and the fact of he was adamant that despite a working relationship with Pochettino that was positive, his only outcome was to win things with Spurs, and his only outcome was to move to the next step. And he wasn't going to allow Spurs to sit there and be dragged and then have to go for a rebuilding process with a new manager with the hope you win something in a certain time frame. He actually took it upon himself to say the time to win is now. There's two managers in the world I believe are capable of that with his Spurs team, Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho, and Pep's in management. And the fact that he even identified that there was only two managers he believed were going to take this Spurs squad to what they needed from a tactical point of view, from a professional point of view, and from a mentality point of view, and he got one of those options, who is a proven winner. I think he gained a lot of respect from Spurs fans, and the way he approached certain situations, Jan Vertonghen leaving at the end of the season, Michel Vorm leaving at the end of the season, the desperation in terms of the Eriksen situation, that actually, there were Spurs fans saying, but if Levy hasn't offered him a big enough contract, surely enough money will keep him. And actually you saw behind the scenes that Levy did everything I would have done, probably more than what I would have done in his position, to keep him. And I think the viewpoint on certain aspects of our club completely changed. And if any football fan was offered the opportunity to have a documentary done about their team, personally, I'd recommend it 110%, because it almost made me feel... I've been to games, I've been in the atmosphere, I've met certain players in the past. The way you feel seeing everything behind the scenes, while I probably wouldn't do it again now, I really, really think it does make you feel closer to your club, especially coming to the end of a period and starting a new period like we were.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. you said about like you wouldn't watch it again, well, you wouldn't be a part of it again, and I think Jose was quite glad to when the cameras actually were gone. I think it was a press conference before the season had even started that he done, and he said he's glad the cameras aren't there anymore, which is one good thing to put off your back. But yeah, a lot of Tottenham fans at the time when Poch was sacked, it was kind of mixed reactions, wasn't it? But you had a fairly good reaction with Jose straight away when he joined.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like there was only one manager at the time really that I was willing to replace Pochettino for, and it was Mourinho. So
nice.
I think we've seen in certain incidences this season where it's been worth it. Obviously, and you got to think about it as well. I was at the Leipzig game when we lost 1-0. In the Champions League, which crazy to think that was almost a year ago. And you looked at it, and we weren't defensively. We didn't have an issue in that game, minus the Davies penalty. Offensively, we just didn't have the attack, and that's one of those situations where you think if Mourinho had the whole season and he was able to invest in the summer like he would have wanted to, rather than halfway through the season, he might have actually had the attacking depth to get a result. And then with Jose, once you're through the first round of the Champions League, as he always says, quarterfinals and beyond, it's as much about ability as it is luck.
Yeah.
So at that point, then you could have seen us potentially getting to a European final at that stage, which he's done with countless clubs in the past. So for me, I think I treat this season now as Jose's first season, not his second.
Yeah.
Because he basically didn't have the majority of the season, didn't have the squad he wanted.
No.
As far as I'm concerned, if he needs backing in January, he needs to get it. Players that are having issues, and I'm sure we'll talk about certain players at the end, need to go. And quality in depth needs to come in. Because the difference between Chelsea, Spurs, and Liverpool, I probably wouldn't count City in the title, to be honest. The difference between Chelsea, Spurs, and Liverpool this season, and who wins the league and who doesn't, is going to be defined by what the clubs do in terms of management, aiming that at Chelsea, and what the clubs do in terms of January investment next month. Because if they do invest in certain positions, certain teams will be more likely to go on and win it, in my opinion. And that remains to be seen what happens with that.
I guess really, I also want to build up for the midweek game tonight with Liverpool at Anfield. With the game out of the way tonight, you've then got a tough Leicester side to face, and then Wolves, who can surprise people. Obviously, winning 2-1 against Chelsea last night. And these are tough games. We all know this. Are these games kind of... There's some games in here that are winnable, definitely. Obviously, the big game against Liverpool is undecided, really, 50-50. How long and who do you need in that squad who are fighters to continue this consistent form? So I'm kind of saying, if you're Jose right now, how are you going to continue from now towards the end of the season?
First of all, you keep the players hungry. You keep them changing. You keep them motivated. You keep them fighting to desire to improve. Certain players, Dyer, Aurier, Sissoko, examples of that. Lo Celso, more goal contributions this season. I think for Jose, it's about remaining ruthless, but doing it in a way that's not harmful for the squad, which he has done so far, and which I'm really happy with. I think that's going to be important. I think rotation to some degree is going to be important, but I think it's about keeping the team together as one unit, keeping them believing in what he's trying to achieve, what he's trying to do, because as long as the players believe that this result and the next result and the result after and so on and so forth is going to leave them at the end of the season with a trophy in their hands, they will stick by it.
They'll go,
the second Jose allows them to stop believing, they're as good as gone. Under Jose, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, like you said, it's about keeping them hungry. And to be fair, there are some characters in there that just seem kind of at that mature role, at that hungry form, like Kane. I feel like Dyer's another one, Eric Dyer. He looks good, especially with his confidence must have risen this season, completely with how much team selection he's getting in that. And obviously players like Højbjerg as well, being at Spurs, a different cup of tea compared to Southampton. He feels something big could happen here this season. So it looks like there's some hungry characters in this team, definitely.
Yeah, for sure, and I think as well. You know, we've brought in Reguilon, who won the Europa League last year, brought in Joe Hart, who's won countless
He's
trophies in the past.
yeah,
Vinicius, who's won the league with Benfica. You know, we've brought in Højbjerg, who used to play for Bayern Munich, and that winning mentality is bred there from the ground up. So for me, I look at the players that Mourinho has actually brought into the club, and I think that's done as much for the mentality necessarily as changing those that are already there.
yeah.
And now we're seeing that determination and that grit by everybody. People talk about the Palace game at the weekend and Spurs should have gone for a second. I truly believe those players believe they could win at 1-0. And while that's ever so slightly naive, it also shows their confidence defensively as a whole, which we've not had for as long as I've watched Spurs.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see how that develops over the rest of the season and into the European knockout stages.
Yeah, completely. I think that it just shows the magic of Jose, doesn't he? You know, like I've got to bring it back the Amazon documentary, the series. It was good seeing Jose. You know, like him back in his managerial role. Obviously, had a little bit of time out between the Man United job and the Spurs job. But yeah, continue building up for tonight's game. If you lose to Liverpool tonight, would you happily say the title race is over? Because obviously they will soon have Van Dijk back. And me and Callum were saying in our prediction for the Premier League for the start of this season, Van Dijk played every game last season for Liverpool. He didn't get injured once, didn't get injured at all. And playing the full 38, we were discussing that if he was gone for perhaps 5 games, maybe a defeat for Liverpool now and then, you know. Obviously, they did lose to Watford, which he did play in. But we were saying if they lost a character like him, we would have perhaps seen some losses come their way. They've seemed pretty strong still with considering the injuries they've had this season. But how important is getting the win tonight for Spurs?
It's massive. It's massive for a few reasons. It's massive because January, Liverpool have an option to strength if they choose to do so. Whether their ball will spend big, I don't touch wood. I can't imagine they will do because they've not had a habit of doing such. But if they do, then we need to be ahead. The one advantage Spurs have got, and I've been saying this since we've been top, is at the end of March, Spurs have finished playing all the top 6 teams. So at that point then, if we're strong and we are within 3 points from top, I believe at that point I would be quietly confident that we'd be able to win the league. Because at any point in time, a top 6 team can drop points to other teams. And I know we can, but if you're saying to Jose, right, Jose, there's 10, 15 games left, you haven't got to play any more of the top 6 teams left, what you're going to do, you're going to go and win every game. As far as I'm concerned, those players get off that pitch without 3 points, they're as good as dead to him. Because he's so focused and so adamant on winning the Premier League again that if we get to the end of March within 3 points off top, I can't see him believing anything other than that we're going to go and win the league until mathematically it becomes impossible. Now, in terms of how important the win is tonight, to be 3 points clear minimum on Christmas Day. The last time Spurs were clear top on Christmas Day, Spurs won the League Cup and the league, which we're favourites for the League Cup as it stands on performances and with managers and everything else taken into consideration. And we are in and around, depending on who you talk to, top 3 or 4 favourites for the league. So at that point in time, taking all that into account, if we were to go and win the League Cup in February, I truly, truly believe that we would go and win the league as well, providing we're within 3 points off top by that stage.
Yeah, because that's massive for me, because you win a League Cup, let's say, in February, and you've instantly got the dressing room going, well, if we can win that, we can win the Europa League, Premier League, FA Cup. Because you guys, obviously, you're in every competition still. So, obviously, with the FA Cup as well, in February, if you win the League Cup, you're still going... An FA Cup could be another trophy to add to this season. I think it's massive tonight. I really do, because I know Van Dijk is getting back very soon. And there's a lot of youngsters.
I think the way I see it is we've struggled at Anfield for years. Last time we won there was 2012, Van der Vaart, Modric. They're unbeaten at home for God knows how long, like 3 years now. if Spurs were to go and win tonight, whether that was 10% possession, one shot on target and winning 1-0, or whether that was absolutely dominating, if Spurs were to go and get a win tonight, that's a major statement for everyone else in the league to say, now take us seriously.
Yeah.
If we go and draw, as far as I'm concerned, nothing really changes. Because we're still top on goal difference. We're still on the same amount of points as Liverpool.
Yeah. If anything,
if we lose...
Yeah.
I think it sounds bad, but I think it's worse if we lose than if we don't win.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, it's about staying neck and neck with Liverpool for as long as possible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, massively.
And then it's a marathon, not a sprint. And you need to be able to jog at the exact same pace alongside someone up until the final hurdle and believe you're going to sprint faster than the other person. Yeah. Whether we will or not, that remains to be seen.
That's the question, isn't it? Yeah. So I think even with a draw, for me, it's still pressure. You know, it's added and necessary pressure for you guys. But obviously a win completely kind of gets rid of that for now. Because obviously you will have to play him again at one point. But
unfortunately,
yeah, it's obviously, but hopefully you'll have I know anything could change now with the virus, but obviously you have the home ground in the second game, which is always good with fans or not. But yeah, I do think it is really massive. I just want to talk about the your transfer business now, really, because obviously you were saying about the 2012 was the last time you beat Liverpool at Anfield. Obviously, you had players like Bale and Modric back then. I will get on to Bale in a bit, but starting off with just some players for me who've looked great for Spurs this season. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Now, when Southampton got rid of him, Southampton fans wanted to see him go for
Southampton fans were actually adamant they got the better side of the deal,
which is funny because it's they saw for them it was. Okay, he's gone now. I don't care that he's gone. We're not doing any kind of leave-in party for him. Just tell me the fee and who we're going to replace for him. That's what Southampton said. But for me, he's so keen to have in that team this season. Completely adds strength. Obviously adds that depth as well. And as well as being so defensively, he also creates that link-up play with Kane or Son up front, doesn't he? Has he obviously impressed you so far, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg?
Yeah, he's been absolutely rock solid. And I think that balance in both midfield and defence has been the one of, if not the, taking out Kane and Son, because ultimately anyone's capable of scoring goals if they have enough chances. I think the defensive and midfield balance has been absolutely groundbreaking for us this season. I think it's been a noticeable difference. I think I have someone in the past who has given Daniel Levy stick for stickling over 3 million or 5 million or 2.5 million at times. For me, it has to go down. If Spurs are to win the Europa League this season, or the league, or both potentially, for me that has to go down as the greatest piece of transfer business in our club's history.
Oh yeah, because massively. Yeah,
a player we are never going to play, and £3 million for a player who was statistically the best defensive ball-winning midfielder in the league last year, and it was shown that for Spurs this season. For me, straight away, that has to go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest bit of business Spurs have ever done. More so than the likes of Son, more so than this, more so than that, because it's not about the big pieces of the puzzle that are important. It's about that final one or two pieces, that it doesn't matter how many other big pieces you have. If you're missing that final one piece, the puzzle's never going to be complete. And I think for us, Højbjerg was that, and I'm not saying that he'll be definitive with us winning the league versus not, but he's definitely a massive credit to our success this season, along with the players that play around him in the system we play with Jose and with the change of players mentality. I think it's been a massive importance. And him, for me personally, I look at that and I say, if he doesn't win Fans Player of the Year at the end of the season, I'll be very, very surprised.
Because I feel perhaps for a while now, I don't know if you agree with me, but I feel the defence has been there for Spurs, especially when you have Vertonghen and Odegaard. I remember it's back when you were there with Leicester, wasn't it? They were great that season, rocks at defence. The attack's been there for a while. We've definitely seen it in recent years with Heung-min Son, Harry Kane, Lucas Moura. It's just the midfield, which seems to have been a project that Spurs have had, and they've been able to complete and restore from the transfer window that we saw with business like Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Another one as well. You can play him defensive midfield. You can put him in the defence. Matt Doherty. Now he, for me, adds depth. When you signed him, I instantly thought that's a great signing. That's an underrated signing, and I know a lot of Spurs fans will go, "Oh, where's Matt Doherty?" You know, from Wolves. But and I know a lot of Spurs fans did say that. But for me, my instant reaction is you've just stole Wolves' key player, and he's instantly could be a contender to try and become a key player for you guys.
I mean, for me, when we signed him, I was very happy because
Were you happy? Yeah,
and people,
that's good.
People say a lot about statistics, right? But statistically, he scored more goals than any other fullback last year in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He got second most assists behind Trent. So for me, I look at that and say there was never any downside because worst case scenario, it's depth in the Europa League if he doesn't fit in, and if he does fit in, you get a quality player for next to no price. I think Doherty has been better this season for Aurier than he has for himself when he's played.
Yeah.
Because we are seeing now a smarter, a more intelligent, a more composed version of Aurier than we've ever seen. And he cemented that first team place. And I remember a few years ago, he came out and said he wanted to move to AC Milan because he didn't appreciate there was no competition at Spurs in his position. And he didn't see Trippier as competition. We go and sell Trippier. Obviously, have no rotation in the right back spot at all for the best part of 2 years.
Yeah.
And then Doherty's come in now, and Aurier's gone, right, okay, now I have to work to start, so I'm going to work my arse off. And I'm not saying he was necessarily lazy before, but I think he got complacent because he didn't feel the need to play amazingly. Not necessarily for the team, but to cement his place in the first team.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, rotation and depth has been one of the massive, massive factors in Spurs so far. I don't want to say success, but so far, results this season. Season, and he's been a part of that.
Yeah, massively has. And just getting on with Aurier, I'll go back to it again, the Amazon documentary, when we saw with Aurier pressing up a bit. I love that. Because for me, it was like, you can tell me all the tactics in the world and you can show me all the meetings in the world, but like seeing it happen was great. Do you remember that pressing Sergio Aurier up more with the field, with corners, when they were taking corners? That was a great tactical move from Jose. Knows the team completely, and for me, another Jose factor as well, working with Dyer this season, making him play this makeshift role with replacing Doherty. He's looked brilliant in that defence with Alderweireld, and he's looked a breath of fresh air this season because he looked frustrated towards the end of last season. I think that's fair to say. But this season, he's just in a more healthier role with Spurs.
So I had this discussion actually on a Spurs episode I did a few weeks ago with a good friend of mine, and we were talking about it. And I said I think Dyer's always wanted to play at centre back, but in simple terms, never had the balls to admit it.
Yeah.
And Pochettino wanted players that could play out from the back, and Dyer hadn't got that defensive maturity at the time. So Toby and Jan come in, and then Dyer's pushed into midfield. He's not comfortable there, therefore doesn't play well, therefore they end up not playing. And he didn't play at the start when Jose first came in. And I remember he did an interview about it a while ago. And basically he was like, when Jose came in, he'd highly rated me in Portugal, rated me at Spurs, wanted me at United to play centre-back. And then I wasn't playing. I couldn't understand why. And I'd never told Jose I wanted to play at centre-back. And Jose, when I went and said, look, Gaffer, I don't know why I'm not playing. I want to play centre-back. I want to work on it. Please, can you help me get best so I can be a mainstay in that team? And he went, yeah, of course I can. But I needed you to come to me and say that was your definitive position of I want to play at centre-back. Rather than sitting on the fence because you're scared, because you've been worried in the past that a certain manager's going to play you in centre midfield and then centre-back the next game and then right-back next game and you're never going to get consistency. I needed you to tell me, Jose, this is where I want to play. Help me get better in this position. And now, the only time I think about a Dyer mistake, well and truly, was the penalty against United at home last year. But even then, I'm still adamant that Pogba went down very, very lightly for that penalty.
Go for it. I remember that. Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, he's been a rock this season, and I think maybe some fans are struggling to accept that. Don't get me wrong, I still want a world-class centre-half in January. Will it happen? Probably not. Not till the summer, but there's no reason why Dyer can't continue these performances. And I'll be honest with you, if he does, and he can get to a Europa League final or a League Cup final, the later stages of the Premier League, and stay composed and stay with his head screwed on, he's going to go down as a club legend as far as I'm concerned. If he's to win one of the League Cup or the Premier League with Spurs this season, for him to be in the centre-back role that he was basically told he'd never play in because he wasn't good enough, to then come in under a world-class proven winner, prove himself, and win something as a result of that, for me,
bingo. Yeah,
it's definitely something I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing.
Yeah, and again, it just shows the Jose factor, completely. If he can do all that as well, it just shows how brilliant Jose Mourinho is. Whether you love him or hate him, he's class. And yeah, it changes his year completely around Eric Dyer. Because he was definitely frustrated last season. I could tell with everything.
I didn't think he'd see it to the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I honestly thought he was going to go.
Players that I believe would be sold.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. Yeah, I thought he was going to go. Yeah, because obviously you guys sold Jan Vertonghen as well, so that's obviously instantly an empty spot. Yeah, and can I just say as well, he's got Arsenal next, hasn't he? With his, is he Benfica? Is he Benfica?
He is.
Yeah. In the Europa League, round 32.
I couldn't be happy about that, by the way. Just a disclaimer to people.
Yes. Getting on to business now, really, with transfers. So the 1st of January arrives, the winter transfer window. You said about the centre-half signing. Is there anyone else who you'd sign for Spurs in January? Because obviously it's just maintaining that depth. And if you get a player like, obviously touch wood for you guys, like, I don't know, Harry Kane or Heung-min Son get injured, hopefully he doesn't have it at all. But instantly there you've got a, what do we do now? And we've got a January transfer window to look at this. And there are other players to step up. Vinicius Junior, I noticed he played the other night in the Europa League. But obviously it's also being ruthless, like Jose goes on about, and going, the quality has to be there for us to maintain the top spot. So who do you really sign in January for Spurs, if you do sign anyone?
For me, first of all, we have to make signings. One, to keep the squad on the toes, and two, just to give that Jose that depth as it comes down to crunch time or Fergie time or whatever you want to say to win trophies. In terms of, we're in a delicate position in the sense of, I don't think attacking wise, while Bergwijn and Vinicius Junior and Lucas aren't going to be the exact same as the front three.
Yeah.
I still think you cannot sit there with 3 wingers on either side of the pitch and 3 strikers just in case. You can't do it. So for me, I'd keep attacking options as it is. I would straight out sell if possible, Dele Alli.
Massive.
And based on current recent comments, I would loan out Harry Winks. And
Harry Winks, yeah.
My choice is to bring in. Ali's not playing anyway, so that doesn't matter to me. I want, and it's a want as much as a need, is Marcel Sabitzer from Leipzig.
Okay,
He's
yeah.
A year left on his contract at the end of the summer.
Yeah.
They've just brought in that Hungarian guy from Red Bull Salzburg to play the exact same type of role as him.
So Zabazli?
For me,
is it? Yeah. That's
however you say it.
Yeah.
For me, I want him to come in because he's experienced, because he's got that final pass we might need when we're breaking against the low block, and he plays that centre midfield role that Winks has got, and he's higher quality. And then for me, I'm not necessarily going to say world class, but a top tier centre half. Jose wanted Skriniar in January. Inter Milan are now out of the league, out of the Champions League. They're not exactly in form domestically. I think from a financial point of view, they needed to sell him financial-wise in the summer. We didn't quite match the £45 million bid. I would be in a position now where I would go back in with a lowball offer and say, look, you're in a position where you don't win the league at the end of this season, you're screwed. Because you've gone out the Champions League and not even gone down to the Europa League. You don't win the league. You don't win any domestic cups. Like, what position are you in? And financially, Inter Milan are in a lot of debt. So
it would do them a favour.
Yeah. Well, maybe not in terms of depth, but I feel like they could probably bring in someone more effective for that system.
Yeah.
If he was to go. And for me, I'd also sell Davinson Sanchez. I don't feel like he's going to have a career at Spurs now.
That's massive. Yeah.
I think. Ultimately, I think he's got the pace, but as Mourinho said in the documentary, when I was at Ajax, I targeted you because I knew you were a liability. Now, if you're a manager coming into a club, if you're a player, and a new manager's coming into your club, a winner, a defensive winner, and he's going, I deliberately targeted you because I knew you were a weakness.
Yeah.
it's never going to end well.
No.
And I think unless he massively turns it around, which I don't see, if he doesn't go in January, he'll definitely be gone in the summer.
Yeah.
It is a risk moving out this many players in January, but I think if we want to win this season, I think we need to make a few minor tweaks. Now, bearing in mind, if we didn't do anything, I would understand, because if you unbalance the squad, which disrupts the form at a time like this where we are in terms of the Europa League knockouts, the League Cup potential final, the later stages of the league, it can be damaging.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very fine balance. For me, I would make a centre-back change and a midfield change. Other than that, I would leave it flat. But obviously that all depends on Jose, Daniel Levy and the board. So.
Yeah, because for me as well, like, I mean, obviously you want to bring in a player who has the quality, but you bring in you could bring in a kind of a player with unknown quality and put him under Jose, and he could instantly get a reaction out of him and get him playing better. I was going to pick up with the Dele Alli situation. I was going to ask, you wouldn't loan him to any club right now, and like say like a short-term loan for 6 months. He comes back in the summer, and you go, okay, let's see what you've just done in your 6 months at that club, and compare the two.
The only loan I would accept is a loan with an option with an
option to buy.
Obligation.
Yeah.
So, no, not an option. An obligation.
Obligation, yeah, fair.
Because I know PSG will bid £70 million at the end of a loan fee for a year, and we said no. If they turn around and offered us 50 right now, I'd take it and run for the high heels.
Yeah, fair enough. For me, one of the better Tottenham teams we've seen previously. Just with how well you guys look. Obviously, we weren't around with a 60 to 61 season. But
thanks for reminding me.
Definitely one of the better Tottenham teams right now, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think sometimes confidence isn't about fancy football or scoring loads of goals. Confidence is about getting the results when you're playing absolute, utter rubbish. And, you know, you need to be at the rock bottom and not be playing great and not be convincing and still getting results.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing I expect from the Spurs team, that even if we go and play badly against Liverpool, I still wouldn't be surprised if we got some sort of result out of it.
Yeah.
So for me, that's massively important. I tell you actually, a player who I rate quite highly. You're gonna love this. A player I rate quite highly, who if Dele Alli was to leave, I would want to bring in, and that's Emmanuel Buendia.
We'll keep him. We'll keep it.
I think he showed a lot when he was in the Premier League. And I think what Spurs lack is that final pass in games where it's 0-0 or it's 1-1, and we need that final bit of natural quality to play that one ball through or one ball over the top or that one pass in between the lines. And I think while I would love a Sabitzer, someone like Buendia would be able to do the exact same thing. And actually, I'm very surprised Norwich were even able to keep hold of him in the summer.
Honestly, mate, I am so surprised as well, because Bielsa loved him. Bielsa loved to look at him and thought, yeah, we'll have that. We've got Arsenal right now piping up for January, but to be fair, like,
why would he move to a smaller club?
That's the thing. Yeah. That's it. And he wants to get out of the Championship. I think Arsenal are heading that way. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, he's honestly, like, he's crazy. And it was only 2 million from Getafe, I believe. It was a Spanish club, definitely. How he's incredible, and he got a top 5. He was in the top 5 list of the most chances created in the Premier League last season. So he's joined up there with Trent and Kevin De Bruyne. It's incredible. Honestly, mate, it feels so good to hear when fans say about your players from your own club. It's great. Another player, of course, that we've got that connection of Oliver Skip this season. Now, I'm glad your club have accepted him to go out on loan to us this season. It's a really hard league, the Championship. You're playing 2 games pretty much every week. Loads of Norwich fans love him this season. I think he's played in every game so far. He's definitely been in every game so far. His work rate is incredible for me right now. You guys must be loving seeing him this season. I know a lot of Spurs fans have said on Twitter they've loved seeing him with Norwich this season and how well he's doing.
Yeah, and for me as well, I actually spoke about this again on the Spurs episode a few weeks ago, because one of the biggest difference between Jose Mourinho and Pochettino is our loan system and how that's been affected. Now, Clark went on loan to a club where he wasn't guaranteed to play and he wasn't going to improve on the factors he needed to, and now he's come back and he's actually benefiting more not playing and mixing with our main team than he would have been on loan at QPR. You look at Ryan Sessegnon this season, Hoffenheim Player of the Month last season, scoring abundances of goals. He did an interview with Football Daily a few days ago, saying that Mourinho, after every goal, every assist, after every good, I watched your performance, I analysed it. You're doing well. Keep going. Keep playing like that. And you know, he's accepted that loan and humbled him. Humbled, not that he needed it, but been humble about it, and known that there's an opportunity to be in the Spurs first team should he play well. Another player, Juan Foyth, whether he comes back and plays for us next season or whether he sells for 15 million, again, his loan at Villarreal has been impactful. He's gone to a club that play out the back under Unai Emery, so that was one of his weaknesses, was passing. It wasn't necessarily defensive. Maybe he needed to buff up a little bit, but apart from that, it was his passing at times under pressure in defence, which he's having to do that on a regular basis, so he's improving that.
And another thing as well is, real quick, these clubs that these players are at, like you look at Villarreal, so they'll have the responsibility of trying to get a European spot this season. Look, Oliver Skip for us, we're in the Championship straight away to go. We're finishing top this season. We want to be back in the Premier League. They've all got great responsibilities in their hand, haven't they?
I mean, that's actually, I was going to mention that about Oliver Skip.
Yeah.
He's gone to a club where he's one of the best defensive midfielders, if not the best defensive midfielder at the club. He's going to be playing consistently, and it's in a competitive league with a club that have the expectation, like you said, of minimum top two. So he has to drop 9, 8, 9, 10 out of 10 performances every single game for week on week on week on week on week. Which is perfect because he's then going to be ready that if Højbjerg gets injured next season, he can fit into our midfield role and do that job. Not necessarily to the same experience level, but to near as damn it the same quality level.
Go for it, yeah.
And I think putting him, like, I've seen so many players that send players out on loan to clubs that are never going to compete for anything or this and the other. And for me, it's frustrating because you need to identify a player's weakness, identify why they're not good enough to get in your first 11 or your 23-man squad, and go, right, let me send you to a club now where you are going to be specifically required to constantly do your weakness every single game, consistently. Because when you're doing that, you're either going to keep making the same mistakes and not have a career and not play, or you'll fix them, do them consistently over 12 months, and then you'll be ready to come in the first team. And I wouldn't be surprised if we loan Skip out again next season for Norwich.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say,
I think it's also going to be hard for Norwich to convince the Spurs board when he's a player now, we're not going to have to buy in that position in depth. Yeah,
to be completely honest, I think only if Skip loves the club and goes, I want to go for there for another season, that'll be the only way, mate, because whenever we come up, our wages...
Spurs fan, born and bred.
So that's another thing as well. Because you know, we're not going to be a club who can offer him high wages. That's the thing. You've got to have that kind of choice to go there, 100%. And it will be really hard to get him out for another loan. Because for me this season, and I honestly mean this right now, his maturity, because 20 years of age, his maturity right now is the same as Jordan Henderson. You know, who's brilliant in his role, or even like the same as Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, I guess we could say as well. You know, like his maturity to know when to go do the correct tackles, to know when to completely go for the ball, and knows what will get him over yellow or a red, because that's ultimately at the end of the day you need to think about being a defensive midfielder. To also pressure the attack up front is completely great. And I remember there was a time, games after games this season for us, but I think it was Luton, I think it was. One of their players was completely through to the counter-attack, completely through one-on-one, and Skip made the tackle. He knew that was going to get him a yellow card, but he done it for the sake of it, because at the end of the day, it was going to be a one-on-one with the keeper, and we just looked shaky. And this is our keeper who's our second keeper, because we got Crawl out this season. We have a tweet as well from Callum Smith. He's a Norwich fan. He asked, "Would you like Oliver Skip to make an impact at Spurs as early as next season?" So I guess he was saying, would you potentially like him to see us go back if we're in the Premier League? I think to be fair, I'll be ruthless for Welsh right now. I think that's the only way we're getting him back if we're in the Premier League. I think if we're in another season of the Championship, I think at that point Jose's going, well, he's 21, 22 soon. Yeah, it's not happening. You know, he's got to be playing a higher level of football right now. Even though the Championship is a really hard league, but would you like Oliver Skipp to make an impact as early for Spurs as next season?
I think while Højbjerg's in the form he's in, providing touch wood he stays injury free, I think I would want Skipp to go to Norwich if and only if they get promoted.
Got promoted.
And he's still a main study in the team.
Yeah.
And not just promoted, but like it has to be top two for me. It has to be that title winning, that grit, that determination, that winning mentality instilled in the club. So not accept anything less for me to say yes.
Yeah.
I would say I would loan him back with the option to recall the loan at any time
at any point
after December.
Okay, yeah.
So that then gives Spurs the cover they need, should worst comes to worst. Norwich benefit from having him. Both clubs benefit to, well, not necessarily Norwich, but because you probably wouldn't afford the price tag we put on him.
No, it's... Yeah.
But Spurs would be able to see what he's capable of in the Premier League. And I think that would benefit all sides. But I wouldn't do another loan. I wouldn't do a loan to anyone except Norwich. Because that's where he's got the performances this season. I wouldn't do it if you didn't get promoted, and I wouldn't do it if they said you can't recall him at any time, because I would want us to get in a position where, like, let's be realistic, Skipp's going to be our defensive midfield for the foreseeable future. Definitely under Jose. If we get to a position where Højbjerg's injured, what's the point in going and splashing 20 million on an average player in January when you can just recall Skipp back from loan? So I think from a business and a team structured point of view, I don't think we would accept it unless there was an option to recall him at any time after 6 to 8 weeks. And in a way, I don't know if Norwich would accept that. Because they could have someone else gelled into the team, whether it's from the youth prospects, whether it's from buying in the transfer window, and they could have a player in who's going to play week in, week out, and then all of a sudden be taken from them with no rotation. Or bring someone in. I don't think it would happen like that, but that's the only way as a Spurs fan I would accept it personally.
No, I'll go with that. For me as well, it's as well as just being realistic, really, because like you say, Skipp's an all a Spurs fan completely, because obviously he gets an offer from Man City or Liverpool, let's say in a few years' time. It will only be Spurs. Spurs will only be the reason that he leaves. As in, like, the board. If the board say to him, "Yeah, we're selling you, mate," it looks to be the only way he will leave that club. So, like you say, he is definitely a potential and long-term midfielder for you guys, unless the board say different.
I think he's mature in the sense of he understands that as well. I think he knows that this loan, and the same way as Sessegnon, who wanted to join Spurs 2 years before he did. They see their loan options as, this is a loan so I can play for Spurs next season. Not, this is a loan so I can be sold off. Whereas if you look at Chelsea, if you're a youngster in Chelsea Academy right now, and you're going on loan, you're probably never ever going to work. I like the fact that the two, if I'm 50-50 whether he'll stay or go, I'm happy for him to stay. I rate him quite highly. Will he? I don't know. I don't know if he's Jose's type of defender, but in terms of the other two, Sessegnon and Skipp, they've both gone on loan and says, I'm going to work my damned hardest and be the best footballer I can be. So the club I love, no disrespect to Norwich or Hoffenheim, the club I love can benefit from it in the future, and I can write my name into their history. So for me, I think the mentality of both of them is very mature, is very, very professional. And I think them allowing Jose to say, no, you're not going here, here's why. Yes, you can go here, here's why. I think, for me, that just shows that their heads are in the right place. They want to work. They want to be better as football players. And ultimately, Spurs are the only people that are going to benefit from that in the long run. So I've got no argument there, really.
Yeah, completely. It's completely great. Because Jose as well, obviously, he said to these players, you go on... So say you look at the clubs interested in Skipp and Sessegnon at the start of the season, and he's gone, all right, you'll go there, you'll go here, because he knows that and I'm happy to say this without saying big-headed, but I know that we play good football. Obviously, you'll have a dislike to him, but it was the same with Jack Wilshere. You know, he had that kind of spell with Arsenal where he wasn't on good form towards the end of his Arsenal career. He wasn't getting the game time. So Wenger said, all right, let's just see what clubs are interested in you. Bournemouth came in. Pretty sure it was their second season into the Premier League, playing great football under Eddie Howe at the time. And he said, go out and learn to Bournemouth. They play good football and you'll learn a lot there. It's about... Because you can kind of... I guess you can send a player out on loan to, say, a top team in pretty much in a dead league, in a way. And they could come back with kind of no kind of quality change whatsoever. But you can also send a player out who play good football and who'll learn from others in the team.
Ultimately, players for me have between 10 to 15 years, ultimately, as a football career, right? Depending on how early they start and how late they finish. On average, 10 to 15 years of a football career. If you waste 2 of those years on loan, not developing your weaknesses, that's 2 years less you could be in a team that wins a trophy, or 2 years less you could be in a team that wins the league, or a team that wins the Champions League. Yeah, so, I mean, you've got to look at it from the point of view. So, if you're a player who's got all the qualities to be an incredible midfielder, but you struggle on passing, you want them to go to a manager and play under a team on loan, especially as a youngster, where they're going to have high possession, where they're going to be required to have more touches than the other team's majority of their players. You want to put people in that position where their strengths are being played to, but also there is an option there to improve their weaknesses on a week by week basis. Because you don't want to be in a position where you spend a year out on loan at a wasted club, your confidence goes low, then you can't get into the first team when you're back, because the issues that you've had have now got bigger because you haven't spent that year working on them. Because the amount of loans, I would love someone like Jack Clarke to go on loan to Norwich next year if they come up, because he went to QPR, first of all didn't play, and second of all, he wasn't, his pace isn't, he's got it or he hasn't, it's not the end all. His maturity is there, it's fine. His decision making's okay for his age. His end product lacks. Yeah. You put him in a team like Norwich where he's having more simple chances. And, they're on the counter attack.
He's a defender, isn't he?
No, Jack Clarke's a winger.
A winger. Oh yeah. No, we'd happily take for the Premier League. I'd happily take anyone. I feel.
It's about being intelligent about loan signings, and that's been a massive difference with Jose. So
100%. Another player, of course, that you have who saw his fair years of his career go out on loan was Harry Kane. Now, we all love Harry Kane at the end of the day, because I don't think you can hate him, because obviously England's striker, so we've all got to love him. And he's Arsenal fans can definitely, especially after that derby, unleashed this season, 9 goals in 12 games, 10 assists this season as well. And I'll pick up with when we saw that conversation he had with Jose in the All or Nothing Tottenham, and his ambition was to be as good as Messi or Ronaldo. Now this season, I'd happily say this season he's been one of the best players in the league, if not the best player in the league so far. His finishing is brilliant.
I will single-handedly say if Spurs win the League or Europa League this season and he finishes the calendar year in this form, at the 2021 in this form, he'll win the Ballon d'Or.
Ballon d'Or, yeah, I feel like that, yeah, because you got trophies to prove yourself with as well, don't you? His finish is, like I said, his finish is brilliant run out, and a player like Son as well, his numbers are only going to rise with him and Harry Kane. Is there right now, in your point of view, are either of them? I mean, this is just kind of mentioning how good they are. Are either of them at that quality of kind of being as good as Lionel Messi or Ronaldo? Because it's hard to tell in a way, because obviously, like they are skillful players, Messi or Ronaldo, completely, but Kane's finishing is something else that is a different topic to talk about. And
ability, I think there'll always be a way away. I don't think we'll see many players in terms of the ability. Mm-hmm. In terms of success, ask me that again at the end of the season when we see who wins what.
Yeah. I'll go with that. Yeah, I'll
Because
go with that.
if Harry Kane and Heung-min Son guide Spurs to the Premier League, as far as I'm concerned, they're successful in their own right to that level based on the club they're at. I'm not saying Son and Kane are as successful as Messi and Ronaldo.
No.
But for the club they are at, you put Messi in West Brom and West Brom win an FA Cup, then that is deemed great success for what he's achieved there, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's logical sense. So if you put Spurs and Heung-min Son and Harry Kane in Spurs, who typically don't win trophies, who typically bottle it, who choke at the end of it, and they win, say, the League and the Europa League, they're in their own right. They're that level for that club.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of worldwide, I don't think anyone will ever hit that level.
No.
But in terms of their form, they're definitely in the best form of their life.
Oh yeah, massively. I really liked Kane's optimism, really, because Mourinho's replied to him wanting to be as good as Messi or Ronaldo. Obviously, it's kind of a point to meet, isn't it? You know, I want to be as good as Messi or Ronaldo. You know, it's kind of like I want to, if not up there. And Mourinho said, "I will try and get you to there. You know, you stay with me. I will try and get you to there," which I like. No, I said Kane is one of the best players right now. Goal against Arsenal was class as well from Heung-min Son. He's another player who's class. 10 goals this season. He's got 59% shooting accuracy. I looked as well. I think sooner or later...
I wasn't expecting it to be that high.
it's mad, isn't it? Anything above that 50 for me is freaking brilliant, you know. I think sooner or later, you have to, or even now, you have to say that Son is marshalling this league as much as Hazard did, or perhaps as much as Bale did when he was previously at Spurs. For me right now, one of the best in the world, as in a category where you can say Messi, Mane perhaps, Ronaldo. Would you put Son in there as well?
I'd put Son. I had this conversation with someone the other day. Actually, I would put Son at the very bottom of the world class tier. So he's only just entering it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put him up there with those likes yet. Kane, I would do. In terms of Hazard, I think Hazard carried Chelsea to trophies. It does a disservice to him to say that Son's on that level. If we go and win the Premier League this season, I think we have to win 3 significant trophies under Jose Mourinho, and that's when you can turn around and say, okay, maybe you put in that bracket.
At that point,
then, I don't think you can.
No, yeah, you're right, because at that point, then it creates that debate of to say, well, Son's better than Mane, because then they can't go, well, Son hasn't won the Premier League.
What's he won?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you have to turn up in the big games and the big tournaments at the right time to have that final polishing piece when you're in that.
Yeah.
You can be world class in ability, but if you show up for 37 games of the season and the one game that decides the league you don't show up for, what's the point in having that ability in the first?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's ruthless thinking, but it's the right thinking at the end of the day, isn't it? It is.
Yeah, but if
completely.
You want to win stuff, that's how you have to think, unfortunately.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, funny thing with Eden Hazard, when he joined Chelsea from LOSC Lille, it was something like 22 million. And I remember loads of Chelsea fans, they won't want to admit this, but I remember loads of Chelsea fans were going, oh my god, 22 million for like a person we haven't even heard of before. Like, what is this club doing? They were completely against them.
Just a disclaimer on that. 22 million was exactly what we spent on Son, and the exact same thing Spurs fans said.
Yeah. So
22 is the magic number.
It's about proving it, isn't it?
So, yeah, it is about proving it. And I'll be honest with you, I was one of those people. I didn't want Son to leave, but when we were offered, like, I think it was like 13 million from Wolfsburg the year after he joined, and he said, no, give me one more season, let me prove myself. It showed his mentality in that situation, but I think he's grown a lot as a person, and I think that's played a massive part in the performances and the player we're seeing become.
Yeah, no, I'll go with that. We saw Bale return to Tottenham. Still for me,
bit of a madness, isn't it?
It's crazy.
I can't get my head around it.
Honestly, I think when he joined, I think I was a bit like, because I loved him as Spurs. I think everyone loved him as Spurs. I think, but I like straight away, I'm like, fantasy football, let's put him in the team, you know, all that, you know, forgetting the exception that, okay, he's been out of football, Rob, he probably won't start straight away, you know, stuff like that. But I kind of wanted to, because it's been so many years he's been out of the Premier League. Last time he was with Spurs. How much, in your point of view, do you think the league has changed in a way? Because I, for one, think it has changed completely. I think we're lacking leaders now for teams. So we had Company at Man City, we had Gerrard at Liverpool, we had JT at Chelsea. How much do you think the league has changed since he was last here?
I think the league has changed a lot. And because he's not been in it to change with it, I think that's where we're seeing a subpar, really.
Yeah.
We know he's capable of Bale.
Yeah.
I don't think Bale will be a right winger for long at Spurs. I think we'll move him more centrally.
Mm-hmm.
However, I was adamant when he joined that he would be at Spurs for 2 years on loan, and then he would we'd sign him on a free for an extra 2 years after that, and then he'd retire at Spurs. However, apparently, and I haven't seen it officially, but apparently he came out and said he wants one more final blasting season in Madrid. However, if Zidane's there, I don't think he'll get that, so I'm not too worried at the moment.
Go for it. Yeah.
If Zidane's sacked, I would then start to worry about whether he'd go or not. I think for me, because his legs haven't adapted and his body style hasn't adapted to how the Premier League used to be, I think he needs to be played centrally, be that just behind Kane or be that just in front of Kane. But I think that's where we'll see the best of him, and I think until that necessarily comes about, I don't necessarily think we'll see the best of Bale. But as far as I'm concerned, if he scores one goal in the League Cup final, the Europa League final, wins respective tournaments, that one goal's been worth 300 grand for the entire season.
Go for it. Yeah, and for me as well, it's like I think it's great in terms of being in all these competitions still, because obviously your chances of winning a trophy compared to perhaps Man City or Liverpool is higher if they're not in the League Cup or the FA Cup, let's say, still. And also, if you say... So it's Mourinho you play, isn't it, in the FA Cup, the non-league team. Incredible fixture. That's another story itself. But for a game like this, obviously you'll rest people because you know. But I, for one, feel like it's a game where you start Bale, or certainly bring him on towards the end, just to get him, actually start him. Let's say get him a 90-minute game just out of the way. I know it's kind of mesmerising for Marine fans to go, oh god, they're starting Bale. You know, the Champions League seat one with Real Madrid, but at the end of the day, it's full 90, which you know you can work with and try and proceed your self-esteem with the club.
We started to see a glimpse of Bale with that free kick in the Europa League game against Antwerp at home, the final game of the group. We started to see a little bit more of him come back then. The thing is, I don't think he'll have the blistering pace, but your finishing ability, once you've got it, it doesn't go. So for me, this is why we need to be playing him centrally, where he's got the balls coming into the box. His header against Brighton was fantastic. We need to see him getting the headers or the tap-ins. But as again, you know, he's already won us 3 points effectively this season in the Brighton game. If you think about it from that principle, a couple more of them, and realistically, if we win some, I think it all depends on if we win something. I think if we end the season trophyless, I think you could turn around and say, you know what, maybe it wasn't worth it. If we end the season having won something, regardless of whether he scores in that process or not, his mentality in the dressing room and his presence in the dressing room, I think, has made it worth the money in itself. Yeah,
as well as how he needs the money as well to buy some more golf clubs as well, don't he, and stuff like that. So, but yeah, you are right, and that one goal or that one assist can bring so much more. I'm going to relate it to a Norwich story now. The Premier League last season, we played Liverpool to start the season. We knew it was going to be a hammering. We knew it would be special if we won. But we lost. We were 4-0 down, and Pukki then got a goal right at the end. It was great for him to start his life out in the Premier League, his first Premier League game, because the game after that we played Newcastle at home and he scored a hat-trick, 3-1. So it's just that one goal can start off so many other goals.
He's been close a few times in open play as well. Not millimetres, but he's not been far off on a few occasions. I do think it's only a matter of time for sure. I think I would have. He's not well at the moment. He's got a bit of a bug, but I would have loved to have played him against Stoke. Because I just need another replica of that goal against Stoke, to be honest. But yeah, that's the kind of game I'd want to play him in. You know, long shots from the top of the box. They're going to sit deep. You know, playing him through on goal, not having to sprint or like really far, and bolt it down the wing or anything like that. You know, we've got Lucas and Bergwijn and Son and whatnot for that. I feel like he needs to be in the centre and become more technical.
Yeah.
like the likes of Kane.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we'll really see him get back to form. And hopefully, as I say, he does retire at Spurs. That would be the dream.
It would be nice, wouldn't it? Honestly, for a future podcast idea for yourself, you should just definitely do, when he retires, you should definitely do a kind of reaction highlight to all of his goals that he's ever scored with Spurs. Because
Yeah, for sure.
when I think of Bale, I always think of the goal he scored against West Ham and the goal he scored against Southampton, against his old club. When Southampton wore that gold sponsor.
The one for me, one of their biggest ones is the one against Stoke.
I can't remember that one exactly, but yeah.
What happened? So Lennon's on the right side, crosses the ball into the top corner of the box, and he hits it on the volley outside of the boot, and it sails into the top corner.
Goes in, yeah. I like that, yeah. I think his greatest ever goal though it wasn't with Spurs, that Real Madrid goal with Barcelona, El Clasico. Completely ran past the line, didn't he? Incredible. Just wrapping up the players though.
Not the first right back he's left on his arse. I'd like to leave that. Mike, how you doing, buddy? You still okay or?
Honestly, mate, he's incredible. And just wrapping up the players though. Like you say, you mentioned names like Bergwijn and Vinicius Junior. What's so good with Spurs is there's kind of more younger players than older and senior, and there's and if anything, they're only going to improve with the squad.
Yeah, and I think there's a fine balance of maturity and youth as well. And I think Jose brings a little bit of both. He seems young by heart, but obviously got the grey hair and drags him down a little bit. But I think that balance has been massive. And I think it gives the youngsters a boost. It gives the older ones, the feeling like they're not going to be relied on all the time. And I think that balance we've got is perfect right now. I just think we are maybe one or two players depth-wise away from being serious contenders.
Yeah. So getting down to the proper deal end of the podcast now. Talk about trophies completely and who you are there with at the moment. So Europa League, there's actually some great teams in the Europa League left for the season. I think all the English teams got through, didn't they? Obviously, Man United's joined the group, which is so funny to see. And you got Wolfsburger next, which isn't Wolfsburg Germany, it's the Austrian team, of course.
I wouldn't be surprised if we played the second team. We played against Antwerp in that game and won.
Yeah, I'd go with that. Yeah. I think that's the thing, because it's so nice to have that faith and confidence in saying that, because it just shows the depth that's there as well with the squad. Obviously, I'm just going to fire out the question. What would you go for this season, the Europa League or the Premier League? And being realistic as well, of course, because obviously the Premier League, so many games left.
We beat Liverpool, the Premier League. We lose to Liverpool, the League Cup and the Europa League.
Go with that, yeah.
It's literally that simple for me, because I think if we can't sustain it over 38 games or however many games are left, I think 2 90-minute ties every couple of weeks, I think that should be the minimum. I would be as far as to say, I would rather risk, if we lose to Liverpool, I would rather risk us play a weaker team in the league and drop down and have a bit of a bad run of form, and the first team in the Europa League go all the way to the final and win, than not. And the draw has gone in our favour in the sense of a lot of teams that could get to a final and beat us are matched up against each other in this round.
Yeah.
It looks like United are going to go out. It looks like Arsenal are going to go out.
Yeah.
Looks like Leicester are going to have a tough run. I truly believe if we can get a lucky draw in the round of 16 and get on the good side of the bracket, there's no reason why we can't go with it. And as far as I go for the League Cup, we've beaten all the teams that could possibly get to the final that we've played, except Newcastle, which was a dodgy VAR decision, and Everton. We've beaten all the others that are left in the competition. So as far as I'm concerned, we don't win the League Cup. That's as good as a sackable offence as far as I'm concerned. It won't be, but it has to be. It has to be a must win.
Yeah. I think that's as well as it just shows how that as well, because for me, a Man City fan can come on and go, I'm going 2 seasons ago. If I bought a Man City fan on 2 seasons ago and I go, all right, what if you lose the League Cup right now? And he goes, all right, so what? But then he goes, we're still in the Premier League. Obviously, we're looking like we're going to win the Premier League because that was the season of 100 points. And obviously the desperate one they want is the Champions League. So it just shows how long it's been for you guys, really.
Yeah, I think as well. He won the League Cup and the Europa League at Man United. A worse team.
Yeah.
Worse structure and organisation. Worse defence. Worse. The only thing that some of the players had going for them, maybe like some Rashford and Martial, but as a whole, the club was considerably worse than the Spurs team. He wanted to sign Kane, Toby, Lloris when De Gea was in a bad run. Rose at the time. Like, there were so many players at this Spurs team, Dele Alli, he wanted to sign that he didn't. We're giving him that squad and saying, you don't even have to sign these players. There you go.
Just have it. Yeah.
If he doesn't at least level what he did at Man United at Spurs, we're never going to win anything.
Yeah, I'll go with that. And as well, like, we'll literally beloved Jose to that, I swear, but he is the most experienced manager in the league for me. Nothing on Klopp, because Klopp, okay, I gratitude his enthusiasm greatly. Done well in Germany, done well here so far. But Jose sniffs out trophies completely. Yeah, he didn't win the league with United, but he gave him a Europa League and a League Cup. Won the league in, like I said earlier, 4 different countries. Every club he's gone to, there's been silverware. And Daniel Levy getting him in, and this is reflecting on the question earlier with Poch or Mourinho. Daniel Levy getting him in is brilliant for you guys, because it literally is going, this has to be silverware here, there, and now. Surely he has to win something.
Yeah, he has to.
Yeah.
If Jose Mourinho can't win anything with this Spurs team in the form we're in right now, I give up. It's literally that simple. I give up.
Yeah. And I tell you what,
like, I can't put it any simpler than that. If Jose can win trophies with Man United, with the squad he had there, but can't win at least the same at Spurs, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
It's just never going to happen for us. So.
Yeah. It's really important, and for me, he seems like the kind of guy, like, he'll realise there's pressure on him. He'll realise the Spurs fan community, how much pressure there is, and how much, like, how kind of this is it right now. He'll realise that, but at the same time, to me, he seems a guy that goes, if anything, he wants more pressure. He seems that kind of character, if you get what I mean, which I love. Like,
look, he spent the best part of a year and a half. People telling him he was washed up, he was finished. He was
yeah.
He wins the league or the Europa League with the bottlers that can't finish.
Yeah.
The third in a 2-horse race. The fucking never won anything.
Yeah.
Then I'm sorry, nobody can leave an ounce of dirt on Jose's shoe again.
Yeah.
Europa League, the league, or higher with Spurs. That's it. You can never doubt him again.
But see, I wanna like, if a trophy is won, I want one of those kind of Jose moments. Looks at the camera and just goes, like the hush from Jose. When he done in the United conference. Yeah. But yeah, you're right though. All this criticism towards him, he'll soak that all up and go, okay, let me show you what I can see.
To get a result.
Yeah, completely. For me then, last question of the day. I just want to quickly ask, what's your score prediction tonight? So obviously, I can't help but obviously ask questions all about tonight's game. Liverpool gets Spurs. Sorry, score prediction. Who's going to score? Go for it. And go by my knowledge as well. I believe, obviously, no Van Dijk. Alisson is in, I believe. Yeah, Fabinho.
Everyone's in but Van Dijk.
Yeah. Is Fabinho in?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in, isn't he? Yeah. Score prediction. Be as faithful as you want, of course.
I'm gonna go with the exact same I predicted on the podcast I did talking about this game, and that's 1-0 to Liverpool.
1-0 to Liverpool. Okay.
I just don't think at Anfield. I don't think we have it.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to, I think for me as a Spurs fan, because so much rides on this game in terms of what it says about us, the squad, what we're able to achieve. If we do win it, I just think it's too much pressure for this team. I think it's if we were playing this game 6 weeks from now and we were still in the race and we were still top and we were still fighting whatever, I'd say maybe. But there's still a part of me that says, has our recent run been more down to those players being bad than the other teams being worse than we are better?
Yeah.
And that concern is in me. I'm going to go 1-0 to Liverpool. I'm going to go Mo Salah.
Mo Salah, yeah.
I think this is going to be it. But if Spurs win, I will stand by this. I think a draw is probably the most likely. But me being a Spurs fan, I've gone for the slightly more pessimistic option.
Yeah.
I think a draw is more likely than anything else. But I'm still going to stick and go 1-0 Spurs. 1-0 Liverpool.
Well, yeah, 1-0 Liverpool. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. For me, yeah. And like, I'll say again, like the 1-1 draw with Palace as well. I felt really unlucky because the amount of headers Kane got on that game was incredible. You know. Yeah.
The thing is, that's one of those games where if you'd have put that amount of pressure on about half an hour earlier, we might actually have gone ahead.
Yeah.
And then at that point, for me, the only mistake, I don't think Jose made a mistake.
No. You can't criticise him.
Ball, I just think it had to be 10 men behind the ball at 2-0, not a 1. That was my only concern.
Yeah. So. That and it's games like that kind of, I guess, makes any league brilliant, but the Premier League brilliant in a way. In looking at it in a neutral point of view, is because obviously anything can happen, especially with the Fulham draw as well. I mean, I want to say Burnley winning against Arsenal, but I kind of expected that. I'm not gonna lie. But no.
To be fair, the longer you watch that game, the more you felt like a Burnley winner was coming.
yeah, it's completely right. I like to watch the Arsenal fan TV afterwards. That was nice.
I spoiled Aubameyang, am I right, guys? I spoiled Aubameyang.
Oh, I love that, mate. I love that. Brilliant to have you on, David, and I do wish Spurs the best of luck for the rest of the season. Guys, I insist.
Likewise for Norwich.
Oh God, yeah, mate, we're back in the Premier League. I swear, like I got faith and confidence, even though I just there's so many games this league and going away days to Preston and all that. Yeah, great. I can't wait. But now,
wait till you have away days at the Tottenham Spurs Stadium. You'll be loving it.
Oh mate, yeah. Oh, I love that. I went to the stadium as well. I didn't want to mention this because I feel like I'm putting salt into the wounds, but obviously when we won the FA Cup, yeah.
I forgot. Were you actually there?
Oh mate, I was there, mate. I was there. I lost my voice.
So I went to the Middlesbrough game before that, and I was so close to buying tickets to the Norwich game, and in the end, I just didn't get I just wasn't.
I bet you were glad.
Didn't work till late.
Yeah.
And I said to my missus after the game, I said, I bet you're glad. She went, why? It went to penalty. She was like, oh really? Oh, I would have loved to see a penalty shot. I went, we lost. She went, oh yeah, great. I would have loved to have seen that. Fair play.
It's honestly one of the best games I've seen as a Norwich fan.
I just beg you sell Tim Krul before next season, please. Buy anyone. Have Lloris. I'll give him to you for free. Just don't have Tim Krul, please.
Oh, fair, no. Yeah, you know what? As well, that stadium's class. I was gonna wrap up. Just like winning any trophy would go so well for that nice stadium, man.
Yeah, you can't. There's no point having a trophy cabinet with no trophies in it. So
that's it.
And normally that's what you hear people say to Spurs fans, not a Spurs fan say, but
yeah, you do. Yeah,
conventionally with me, unfortunately, be that good or bad.
They'll be saying that to Arsenal soon, I'm sure, or Chelsea. Anyway, I insist you guys to check Dave's podcast channel out, the Unmuted Voices. I'll be putting their links in the description. I believe I'm going to put the Linktree link in. You can catch any link whatsoever. You can get any kind of platform you want to listen to on that Dave's doing. You can choose on the Linktree link. Spurs fans, tell us your opinions down in the comments below. Will this be the season where Spurs can win the league title? Please do get in touch in the comments down below. Yeah.
When you hear it like that, it sounds daunting when you think Spurs league title. Like.
Oh mate, that's where it's at right now. Yeah, and I'll be asking that question more if it's a win and that. I'm sure. There will be more podcasts and content very similar coming to this channel very soon. So be sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video. If you'd like to show your support on this one, then be sure to hit the like button. Thank you, mate, for joining me today. First podcast that I'm doing kind of outside as well. Been a pleasure. And thanks to you guys as well for giving it a watch. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye.